My name is Claire Hoffman, I'm 31, and the night I understood what my family actually saw when they looked at me, I was lying in a trauma bay with a tube in my chest and my 6-week-old son 40 minutes away with a woman I'd never met. 3 hours before that, I'd been driving home from a site audit. The SUV ran the light on Colfax just after 10. I don't remember the impact, I remember waking up. The thing about anesthesia is it strips you down to simple facts. Broken collarbone, punctured lung, fractured wrist. And Daniel, my husband, was in San Jose. His flight wouldn't land for 5 hours. Someone had to take our son. My mother lived 16 minutes from the hospital. When Daniel called her from the airport, she said she couldn't. Not won't, couldn't. She was at a poker tournament in Central City. She'd explain it to him carefully, like she was solving a logistics problem. Your sister's out of town. I'm watching her dog. It's a special breed, very anxious. I really can't leave him alone overnight. A dog. My son needed someone to hold him through the night, and the answer was a dog. I didn't cry. I need you to understand that part. Because everyone expects the woman in the hospital bed to collapse, and I didn't give them that. I reached for my phone with my good hand and opened the contacts. There was a backup plan. There's always a backup plan when you've spent your whole life being the only adult in a room full of people who call themselves grown. I dialed the overnight care service we'd interviewed during my 3rd trimester and never used. A woman named Simone answered on the first ring. I gave her my address, the door code, and a list of what my son would need. She arrived 38 minutes later and sent me a photo, Henry asleep in his bassinet, one small fist curled near his cheek. I looked at that picture for a long time. The nurse standing next to my bed asked gently if anyone was coming to sit with me. It's handled, I said. She blinked. People always do when you don't perform the breakdown they expect. But here's the part one didn't say out loud. It wasn't just handled. Something else was about to be. You need to know who I was before that night, because it explains the shape of everything that followed. I grew up in a duplex in Thornton where the heat worked 3 months out of 12, paid my way through Metro State working stock shifts at a King Soopers, transferred to CU on a partial scholarship, graduated with honors into an audit position at a firm downtown that billed by the quarter hour. By 29, I was a senior compliance analyst. I read contracts for a living. I find the holes people don't think anyone will notice. I'm very, very good at it. Daniel and I got married young. We waited on kids, lived carefully, kept our expenses low and our savings high in a way no one in my family ever asked about. For 7 years, I'd been sending my parents money. Not once, not occasionally. Every single month, automatically, $3,200. I told myself it was for my father's medication and their mortgage. I told myself I was the only one stable enough to carry it. And I was right about one thing, I was the only one carrying it. But I'd been wrong about what it was for. Lying in that hospital bed, I did something I hadn't done in 7 years. I opened my banking app and looked at the full transaction history. Not just the summary, the details. And what I found made my chest tighten in a way that had nothing to do with broken ribs. The first transfer was labeled Parents, General. $2,000 a month, started when I was 24, the week my dad called me in tears about a collections letter. The second, house payment, $800 a month. The third, dad meds, $400. Total, $3,200, withdrawn on the first of every month for 84 months. I did the math slowly, because some numbers you need to see in full before you'll believe them. $268,800. $250,000, gone, automated, quiet. And then I scrolled further. Buried in the med payment line, tucked inside a category I never audited because I trusted the label, there was a single transaction from 18 months ago. It just said, transfer, E.H. E. Esh. My sister's initials, Emma Hoffman. $25,000. I locked the phone. Set it face down on the blanket. And asked myself a question I'd avoided for 7 years. Why did I do this? The easy answer is that I'm a people pleaser, that I was desperate to be loved. But that's not quite right. I did it because somewhere along the way, I decided that being needed was the same thing as being safe. If I was the one holding everything together, no one could let me fall. My grandmother understood that about me before I did. Her name was Marianne, my mother's mother, practical, sharp-eyed, unsentimental in the way only Depression-era women are. The year before she died, she took my hand at Christmas and said something I didn't fully understand at the time. Somebody's got to be the bookkeeper in this family. Your mother never will be, so I guess it's you. I thought she meant, be generous. I think now she meant, be careful. Marianne passed last April, quietly, in her sleep. I'd been too buried in pregnancy and a deadline to ask about the estate. I assumed my mother handled it. I assumed my money was going where I thought it was going. I'd spent my whole life assuming the best about people who had never once earned it. And I'd called that assumption love. Daniel called again from his layover. This time he told me everything my mother had said, word for word, because he knew I'd want it that way. He'd asked her, pleaded, really, to just drive over and stay with Henry until Simone arrived. She'd sighed, that long, theatrical sigh she uses when she wants you to feel like you're inconveniencing her. I really can't, Daniel. Emma's dog is very sensitive, and besides. A pause. Claire always manages. Your sister never has these kinds of emergencies. He said it quietly, but I heard his voice crack. As if the truck that hit me had checked my family roll before it ran the light. I told Daniel I'd call him back. Then I opened Instagram. I almost never do, but I needed to see it. Emma's story was at the top, a sunlit grid of her in Santa Fe, adobe walls, turquoise jewelry, a ceramics workshop. The caption, finally investing in myself. My sister, 28, a creative entrepreneur with 4,000 followers and no declared income. Living in a casita I now knew I'd paid for. I didn't comment. I didn't scream. I opened my messages and typed 4 words to a contact I hadn't used in months. Grandpa Lou, can we talk? The reply came in seconds. Was wondering when you'd ask. I should tell you about Lou. Louis Carmichael, 76, my mother's father, widower, retired civil engineer who still wears a watch on a chain and writes in cursive. He doesn't text often. When he does, it's in full sentences with punctuation. 20 minutes after I messaged him, my phone rang. Not a text, a call. You in pain? He asked. Some. You need me there tonight? No, but I need you Sunday. A pause, then. The dinner. You heard. Your mother sent a group message, said there'd been a misunderstanding and everyone should come help sort it out. His voice was dry. I'm guessing she means sort you out. Probably. Another pause. You want this quiet, or you want it clean? I looked at the photo of Henry on my phone, that tiny fist, that stranger's careful hands. Clean, I said. Then I'm bringing the file. What file? The one your grandmother left, the one your mother doesn't know exists. He hung up before I could ask more. The next morning, they moved me to a recovery room. That's when the family text chain started lighting up. It was called Hoffman Family, and it had 12 people in it, mostly cousins and aunts I saw twice a year. I didn't open it. But the phone kept buzzing, and finally I gave in. My mother had posted an hour earlier. A long, wounded paragraph that started. I'm heartbroken to say that Claire has cut us off without warning while your uncle is sick and we're barely staying afloat. I don't know what we did to deserve this cruelty, but I'm praying we can all come together Sunday and help her see reason. Aunt Janice had already replied. Shame on her, after everything you've done. A cousin sent a praying hands emoji. No one asked what happened. No one asked if I was okay. They just believed her. I set the phone down. And I realized something. The story my mother told the family wasn't just a lie. It was a performance. And she'd been rehearsing it for 7 years. But I had something she didn't. I had the receipts. Saturday afternoon, Lou came by the house. He didn't call first, just knocked, let himself in with the spare key, and sat down at the kitchen table with a manila folder under one arm. It was old, corners soft, held together with a rubber band gone brittle. He set it between us like a card player revealing a hand. Your grandmother kept books, he said, on everyone. I stared at the folder. She knew? She suspected. Last year of her life, she started asking questions. Where your mother's money was coming from, why your dad's prescriptions were paid but they still couldn't cover property tax. He tapped the folder. Took me 4 months, but I traced it, all of it, back to you. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? His eyes were kind, or would you have made an excuse and sent another check? I didn't answer, because he was right. Lou leaned forward. Marianne didn't want to leave your mother in charge of anything, not the house, not the accounts, not a dime. He slid the folder toward me, so she didn't. I opened it slowly. Inside was a trust document, dated 11 months ago, signed by Marianne Carmichael and Louis Carmichael. Witnessed, notarized, filed. The house my parents lived in, the one I thought they owned, was titled in the trust. And the trust didn't name my mother. It named me. And Henry. Sunday came cold and clear. We drove to my parents' house just after noon. I still had the wrist brace, still moved carefully because of the ribs. Lou followed in his own car. He didn't want my mother to see us arrive together. Daniel carried Henry in his car seat. I carried the folder. Before we went inside, I took off my hospital bracelet, the one I'd been wearing for 6 days, and tucked it in my coat pocket. I wanted it close. Not as a weapon, as a reminder of exactly where I'd been the night she chose a dog. The house was full. Aunt Janice, 2 cousins, my dad in his recliner by the window, staring at nothing. Emma on the couch, tanned and uncomfortable, like she'd been told there was a problem but no one would say what it was. And my mother, in the center of it all, holding court. She turned when we walked in, and her face did something practiced. Concern, relief, warmth. "Oh, sweetheart." She moved toward Henry's car seat, arms out. "Let me see my grandson." Daniel angled the seat away. Just slightly, but enough. Her hands hovered, then dropped. And her expression shifted. She turned to the room instead. "I'm so glad we're all here," she said, voice trembling just enough, "because this has been the hardest week." Her week. The week I spent in a hospital bed had been hard for her. She told them I'd been in a minor accident, thank God it wasn't serious, and that I'd used it as an excuse to abandon my parents in their time of need. She dabbed at her eyes. Janice nodded along. Emma looked confused. My father said nothing. And then my mother turned to me, her finale ready. "I just don't understand where this anger is coming from." Her voice broke beautifully. "Your sister never has these kinds of emergencies." The 5th time. She'd said it 5 times now. And she had no idea she'd just handed me the pin. I didn't stand. I reached into the folder and pulled out a single printed page. Not the trust, not yet. Just the breakdown, 7 years of transfers, every month, every dollar. I set it on the coffee table. "You're right," I said quietly, "Emma doesn't have emergencies." I smoothed the paper flat. "I want to show you why." The room went still. "This is every transfer I made to this family for the last 7 years, $268,800. I pointed to the top section. 62,000 went to Dad's medications, real ones, I checked. I moved my finger down. 9,000 to the mortgage, confirmed. A pause. The rest, just under 200,000, went somewhere else. Janice leaned in despite herself. I touched the line labeled Parents, General. 140,000 in cash withdrawals, almost all within 3 miles of Central City. My mother's face went white. And 25,000 to Emma, filed under Dad Med so I wouldn't ask about it. Emma's head came up slowly. "That's where your casita deposit came from," I said gently. "It didn't come from Mom and Dad, it came from me." Silence. Actual silence. My mother opened her mouth, and I watched her reach for the only tool she had left, to call me a liar. She looked around the room. "This is twisted. Claire has always been dramatic, and now she's." Lou set his cane against the arm of the couch and laid the second folder on top of my page. He didn't raise his voice. "I knew," he said to the room. "Marianne knew. We traced it before she passed." He opened the folder. "This is the trust. Marianne's house. This house. It was never in your name, Linda. It was always in hers, and when she died, she didn't leave it to you." He set the document where everyone could see. "She left it to Claire, and to Henry." My mother's performance simply stopped. The mask came off. And underneath was something I'd never seen before. Raw panic. What happened next wasn't an apology. It was everything else first. She cried. When that didn't work, she turned on my father. "Roy, say something. This is your daughter. Are you just going to sit there?" My father looked at me. For one long moment, I thought he might finally do it, might finally speak. His mouth opened. "Linda," he said quietly, "the poker tournaments, Claire's right, you know she is." My mother's head snapped toward him. And the look she gave him was 40 years old. He stopped. Looked back down. And that was all he had. I stood slowly. I took Henry's car seat from Daniel. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the hospital bracelet. I didn't explain it. I just looped it once around the handle of the car seat and let it hang there. A small, soft piece of proof. My mother was still talking, threats, bargaining, pleading. But her voice had stopped being able to reach me. I looked at Janice. "You've seen the numbers," I said. "I trust you'll tell people the truth." She nodded. I looked at my father. He met my eyes. And I gave him a small nod that meant, "I understand, and it's okay, and I'm still leaving." Then Lou, Daniel, and I walked out into the cold. I pulled the door shut softly. Because slamming it would have meant I still wanted something from the people on the other side. I didn't. The account was closed. Here's how it settled. The trust held. My mother consulted a lawyer. He told her what Lou already knew: clean paperwork is hard to fight. She and my father still live in the house. The trust allows it. I'm not interested in putting a man with a heart condition on the street. But Central City runs on someone else's money now. Emma got a job, a real one, at an ad agency. She texted me once, I didn't know. I sent her the page. She never replied, but she also never asked for money again. Janice told the family what she saw. The group chat went quiet. My father calls sometimes, only when he's alone. I always answer. Simone still sends Henry a birthday card. And Lou moved into a rental 10 minutes away. He comes for dinner every Sunday. He always brings the folder. Sets it on my bookshelf. And says, just in case anybody forgets. If I learned anything from a hospital bed, a folder, and 4 taps on a banking app, it's this. The people who call you the strong one are usually just naming the person they've decided they'll never have to carry. And the day you stop being their bank is the day you finally get to be something better. For me, that meant being a mother to my son. Instead of a parent to everyone who refused to grow up. That's my story. 7 years, a folder, and the truth my whole family buried. If this reminded you to check a bank statement, or to ask who you'd call from a hospital bed, do it tonight. And if you know someone who's always the strong one, send this to them. They might need to hear it more than you know.